My name's Sam. I'm from the UK. I go to Manchester Medical School. I came to Swaziland for a few reasons. I always knew that I wanted to come to Africa to do my elective project, but I was never sure which country. There's so many options to choose from. So I decided that I wanted to find one where it's really friendly and it's safe and I can travel around on my own, and also where there's a reasonably high level of English, so I would be able to talk to some patients alone. And Swaziland ticks all of those boxes. In addition, when arranging the elective, Dr. Pons was so quick and so informative, it just made the decision that Swaziland is the place to come. In general, it's a lot more laid back, a lot more relaxed. Days don't really start or end at a specific time, but you get in at some point in the morning, maybe the doctor will turn up. Everything winds down by 2 p.m-ish. A lot of people like to be home before the sun sets, so it gets to 2 o'clock and everyone's on the last bus home. But in general, there's a lot less structure than back home. Things are a lot more free-flowing and there's no set procedures for a lot of things. But you see some great variety of medicine. You see things that you'd never see back home. Snake bites. You don't get too many snake bites in England. You see diseases in more advanced stages than you would. So the HIV you see here is nothing like the HIV back home because it's been left unchecked for a long time. You see a lot more TB. We get a decent amount of TB in Manchester, but nowhere near the level here. You do still see some of the same diseases that we see back home, so you've got your hypertension, your diabetes, but there's more things like snake bites and a lot more polytrauma. I still haven't adapted. It's very different. It's very easy to become frustrated by what's happening here, but when you get past that, you realise that they do amazing work with the things they have. Things could definitely be different. They could be better. But a bit of your role here as a medical student is to try and make that better. You're the one that can say, maybe this isn't the best way to do this, maybe we could do it this way. You can offer suggestions, and people are generally quite receptive to these suggestions. You feel like you can really make a bit of a difference. Yeah, it does take a lot of getting used to. So your role can be as much or as little as you like. If you want to just observe, that's absolutely fine. It's probably advisable in some situations as well. You don't want to get a sharps injury out here really, but you can get as involved as you like. In theatre, I get the opportunity to get very involved in the operation, more so than I would back home. If you're on the medical ward, you can take a big role, you can do the ward round. When you go further afield, so if you go to the Ebenezer Clinic, which isn't technically associated with the hospital, you get there and you are the doctor, which is a very scary situation given that we're not doctors yet, we're still medical students, but they look to you for treatment plans and they ask you to completely see patients independently. So you have a lot of responsibility there. The Ebenezer Clinic was set up by a lady called Precious. I think she's a school teacher, and she realised that there wasn't great healthcare for her community. So she pushed really hard, she was really involved in getting funding, and she made this Ebenezer Clinic. She set it up. It's a nurse-led primary healthcare facility about 20 minutes up the road from Good Shepherd Hospital. And it exists to give healthcare to people that can't make it down to Good Shepherd, to really reach this remote community. You go there and it's a first come, first served system for patients, and they see either the nurses there or you, if you're in. And it's like a healthcare appointment in the UK, like a GP appointment, with the caveat that you have a very limited supply of drugs and almost no investigations. For the most part, it's the favourite thing for a lot of students because you have a huge amount of responsibility. You feel like you're making a direct impact into people's care. And sometimes you feel like if you weren't there, then they'd get much worse care than they do get if you're there, which is quite a nice feeling. Yeah. So for a prospective student, you need to bring your white coat and stethoscope. There are white coats here, but they're quite hard to get. Literature-wise, it's helpful to have a BNF, either a paper copy or more likely the app. That's very useful. So when you get up to Ebenezer, there's drugs that you're not too familiar with, but you can get a great dose from the BNF. Treatment guidelines are helpful, but they're possible to get. If you bring the Oxford Clinical Handbook, that's quite useful. Supplies-wise, anything you bring will probably be useful. They're short of things like most basic drugs, whatever you bring. Lots of sunscreen.
Yes.
I'm not too sure. It's you're in a reasonable sized town with a reasonable grocery store, so anything you desperately need, you probably will be able to get here. Bring any special medication, but aside from that, you can get the basics here. So I live up at Mabuda Farm at the backpackers accommodation. It's called the Pilgrim's Rest. This is a communal living area, so there are 6 bedrooms. Most of them have bunk beds surrounding a nice little courtyard. There's a communal room with a television and a kitchen. There's shared shower and bathroom facilities. It's very, very nice. When you're there, you sometimes forget where you are. There's a pool nearby, and this is on the Ponds farm on their property, where lots of tourists go, lots of visiting NGO workers go, lots of doctors from the hospital live there. It's a really, really lovely place to stay. So technically there is Wi-Fi at the farm. The Wi-Fi comes and goes depending on the weather, and it's not found in the backpackers accommodation. The Wi-Fi is in the reception area. There's a nice little table that you can sit at, but you do have to walk over to the reception area to use the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
You can buy data, and the data is, it's quite expensive, but it is reliable.
Yeah.
So Stege is one of the 4 capitals of Swaziland, I think. It's the head of whichever region we're in now, Lubombo, maybe?
Lubombo, yeah.
So Stege is a reasonable sized Swazi town. It's rural in that it doesn't have large treatment hospitals or anything like that, but it's a hub that has a lot of things that people need. It has grocery stores, it has general stores, it has a hairdresser. The people that live here in the surrounding areas, they're quite poor. There's a lot of deprivation. There are a lot of sustenance farmers, so these people grow food and they share and trade food. So having cash in hand for something like a hospital appointment is quite challenging. So if you want to get lunch at the hospital, you can pay a little amount. I think it's like £1.20, and you can get lunch at the hospital each day. There's a supermarket down in Stege, so most people just do grocery shopping there, cook at the farm. There's a nice kitchen with lots and lots of implements, everything you need to cook, and then either just eat it there or bring it in. Yeah, food is very easy. So generally your afternoons are reasonably free. The thing that I like doing is going to the pool at the Ponds residence. There's a lovely pool there, you can take a dip. The area surrounding your accommodation, there's lots of trails that you can walk down. It's a really, really pretty farm, you can go on some great walks. Nearby there's a few nature reserves, so the Hane Nature Reserve is probably the one most people have heard of. That's a 25-30 minute drive from the front door. So you can finish here, and in 25 minutes you can be looking at some lions in Halane. Also there's hiking around the same area, so that's nearby. At the weekend you can take longer trips. I've been down to South Africa, just some snorkeling and some diving. You can go down, up to Kruger National Park there, that's quite reasonable. Within Swaziland itself, there's lots of places. You can go west towards Ezulwini Valley. That's the main tourism spot. There's hiking, there's performance activities, there's caving, there's rafting, there's lots of adventure-related activities. Lots of music and dancing and cultural activities too. But the best thing to do is braai. Just cook lots of meat. Yeah, the braai is a big thing here. It's normally just the people from the farm, and when you get to know people from the hospital, you invite them as well. So the chief surgeon here, I've become friends with him, so he comes to braai with us. Just a nice chance to meet up with everybody. Pretty much everyone flies into Johannesburg. There are 2 main options. The first one, slightly cheaper one, the one that I did, is to take overland accommodation from Johannesburg into Swaziland. There's a bus called the Transmagnifique service that goes to Manzini, and then from there you can either get a taxi or a local combi onto Stege. There is the option of taking a combi the whole way, but that's probably not for the faint of heart. The second option is to take a flight from Johannesburg to Manzini, and once you get to Manzini airport, you're reasonably close to Stege. You can normally get somebody to pick you up or get a taxi the rest of the way. Yeah, I've been here for 6 weeks already. I have 2 left. My time here has been some of the best time I've ever had. It's it's a fantastic opportunity to come and just see medicine that's so different from the UK. I can't recommend Swaziland highly enough. It's a country that you fall in love with, and once you come here once, I think I'll be coming back here quite regularly for a long time. There's so much to see, and the people here are just so friendly and warm and open, and it's a really refreshing, really nice break from the UK. Yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough.